Hey guys, it is about that time. Let's make sure. Let's make sure. Yep, I'm right. So it is about that time to hold on. Want to make sure. Yep, let me do it like this. Now, it is about that time to get educated, get empowered with Tennille. All right, guys, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you are tuning in to this broadcast. I am your international award winning author and filmmaker and empowerment specialist, Tennille M. Jackson. And I want to welcome you guys to an all new Get Educated, Get Empowered with Tennille. And so today's show is really going to be kind of quick. Number one, I'm typically supposed to be coming on at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I guess somewhere in the world is 6 p.m. It's not 6 p.m. Central, but somewhere in the world is 6 p.m. And so I do want to apologize, but it seems like every time you try to do something at a particular time, life starts life. And so for that, I do not apologize, but I do want to welcome all of you who are tuning in, whether you are watching from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I want to just say hello. And I want to take the time to kind of just give you guys an overview of what this show is going to be about. Because I know many of you are like, hey, Tennille, we know that you do podcasts, and that's nothing new to us. But the format of this show is going to be different so that moving forward, you're going to kind of maybe think the daily show, a show where we're kind of going to talk about multiple things all at the same time. In times past, I would come to you and say, like, for those of you who know me as the book lady, right? So in times past, you'd see me on whatever day of the week with aspects of entrepreneurship. And what that show would do was just talk about whether it be writing or editing or publishing or anything like that. That's kind of what that show would be. But then you would have like the self-care show, the self-care act, or you would have wife and wisdom. So like I had all of these different shows where they would have a full topic for whatever that hour was, right? But I've been behind the scenes, I've been updating some things. And so I want to kind of come to you guys with this show. And again, is get educated, get empowered. And as I'm talking to you all on Facebook, it just occurred to me, I'm gonna need y'all to give me one quick second because I forgot that I'm also supposed to be simulcasting from my Audible podcast. And so I want to make sure that I get over there. So let me upload this as well. But as you guys are coming in, please do me a favor and feel free to hit like, hit share, tag somebody that you believe will benefit from this broadcast. And so y'all give me one quick second because again, I got to get back into the swing of it, y'all. I've been doing this for a very long time, but I've also stopped doing it for a minute. And so when you stop doing stuff, then you got to get back into the swing of it. And so I don't necessarily apologize, but I'm letting y'all know, hey, this is going to be a journey and I want you guys to be on the journey with me. So y'all give me a quick second to make sure that I'm getting everybody in here that needs to be in here. And so we'll just start talking. So yeah, so let me do this. Okay. Alrighty, so I think we are good. Yes. Okay. So now I am good with everybody. Let me tag some specific folks real quick. And so you all may end up hearing some stuff in my background because I am actually at home doing this right now. So y'all give me one quick second. I want to tag a few people that I know typically like to be tagged when I go live. So I'm gonna just tag these few people and then we're gonna go ahead and get started. So for those of you, again, if regardless of where you are tuning in from, this is live streaming on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, um, LinkedIn, and then audibly it is on the Noon Vibe, formerly known as Wisdom app. And so I want to just do, I'm going to be on here very briefly today. This is just giving you all the overview of what is now the revamped show. Okay. So again, those of you who have tuned in to me before, this is nothing new for you. My being on the airways. Hello, Miss Rochelle. My being on the airways is nothing new to you guys. However, again, this is new packaging that we are doing. So get educated, get empowered. We are gonna do like it'll kind of make you think of I would say like the Daily Show in a way, right? So there are going to be topics. So whenever I come on, the main topics that I will hit on in every show will be relationships, the arts, self care, and entrepreneurship, right? So again, as I was explaining, in times past, I would do an entire podcast. So I had multiple shows going on at the same time, right? So, like every day of the week, I was doing a different podcast. So, like I say, for authors, I was doing aspects of entrepreneurship. I was doing the Wife and Wisdom podcast, getting alignment with your assignment. It's not politics, it's principles. The Self Care Act. Like I had about 4 or 5 different podcasts going on, and every day I would come on and probably give you like an hour's worth of content in each of those respective categories. Now, here again, because I know I'm still connected to so many of you, and so many of you do look for me to give that content, it is something that I'm very passionate about. And I was trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I still kind of do it without being so overwhelming with it? Because for any content creators, you guys know that after a while we start you're trying to figure out more ideas, because it's only so many different ways that you can talk about writing a book, or so many different ways that you can say this, how to position things differently, right? So I'm like, other than taking a kind of hiatus, because many of you, it has been a while since I have went live consistently. Well, guess what, y'all? It is July. So it's a whole new month. So we are putting an end to the inconsistency, since we know that the number seven represents the number of completion. So we are completed. We are done with inconsistency. And so we are now going to be turning over a new leaf. And so the goal is Tuesdays through Fridays, I will be coming on, and it's supposed to be 6 p.m. Central, people. 6 p.m. Central. Today was different, so charge my head, not my heart. But the fact of the matter is, I'm still proud of myself, because at the end of the day, I still came on, right? Like once upon a time, I might have looked at that time and was like, baby, bye. You over an hour late. Don't even worry about it. However, my thought was, you know what? At least I'm going through with it, because there have been a lot of things. I was struggling with a lot of different technical difficulties behind the scenes, had some other stuff going on, like within the household. So the bottom line is that I'm here. And beyond that, the fact that my life is so crazy busy really, to me, adds credibility to the various things that I'll be talking about. So, as I was saying before, we're going to kind of compile the best of both worlds in one show. Now, generally, this show will never go longer than an hour. It'll probably hit around that 30 to 45-minute mark. That's my sweet spot. But again, the longest that my desire is for it to go is an hour. And so the setup for it will be like every, maybe 5 to 6 minutes, I'll hit on different topics and just kind of go through them, right? So, like, let's just say, as an example, for those of you who are in the arts, That might be something. So some days when we talk about the arts, what am I talking about? We're talking about books, music, and movies, right? And so, like, what I'll probably do different days, some days with that time, I might just focus on one thing. So I might just focus on content that is going to fare well with my authors and poets, right? So the literary arts. Then a particular day, I might talk about the visual arts or the movie industry, right? And then I might talk about performance arts or music. And many of you know I have dabbled in each of those industries. And so, I am a national, international award winning author. I have about 20 books or so to my credit. Many of them I wrote on my own across genre. And then there are some anthologies that I am part of. Anthologies basically being a project that you collaborate with other authors, other writers. You guys come together and everybody contributes certain chapters to make this book complete, right? So I have, I think, maybe about 4 or 5 anthologies that I'm part of, but those other 15 books, these are projects that I've done on my own. And so you have that, me wearing the author hat, right? But then I am also a filmmaker. So in 2022, I took the first stab at doing an expository documentary, which was called The Four Eyes of a Black Man. And so the eyes talked about identity, insecurity, and two more eyes, y'all. Is just escaping me right now. And then earlier this year, I released a project for women that was called I Survived It All. And that was actually a docu series. And so I have touched upon the filmmaking process as well, again, as it pertains to documentary. So when we talk about the arts, that's what will be coming from, not just my projects, but just from the film. There'll be times when we're talking about films, movies, whether we are talking about like movie reviews, like how Bad Boys 4 is relatively new. A lot of people are talking about that. So sometimes I might be giving movie reviews. Sometimes I might just be giving you tips about the movie making process. But then there's also times we might be talking about music. And again, I've dabbled in that industry. In 2022, I released a song. I wrote a singer-songwriter on the song that's called Remembering. And that was a project that I released in honor of my mother and the fact that it's been 20 years in that year, 22, where she had passed away. And then earlier this year, I actually wrote and sang the song "I Survived It All," which was the soundtrack for the docu series. I also wrote a song. I did not perform it, but for my documentary in 2022, I wrote the song "Being a Black Man is Harder Than You Think." It was performed on for the movie itself. It was performed by Matthew Long Jr., and we have yet to officially release it, but it was released for the soundtrack. So again, and I've done some other, hey Miss Tanya, I've done some other songs prior to that, in prior years. But the point is, when we're talking about the arts from that perspective, there'll be times where we're, again, not just talking about my songs, the things that I wrote, but also, just the process of singing and songwriting, right? And again, it might be new music that just released, or like when the thing that just happened with Kendrick Lamar and the whole "Not Like Us" situation. So bringing your attention, giving you to be educated and empowered about music in some regard. So that's what we're talking about with the art. So yes, we will keep with, for those of you who like listening to me and giving those tips for the literary arts on writing and editing, publishing, we're definitely going to keep that. But we're also going to throw in the music and the movies component, right? But then we'll also transition, and there'll be times where we talk about relationships. So whether we're talking about parental relationships, professional relationships, personal relationships. Hey, Mama Joyce. We will. Hey, Miss Beatrice. Okay, it sounds good. Deatra says that she is in Bible study and she will rewind. So thank you so much for being kind to rewind. And so, so when we talk about, like I say, with relationships, many of you tuned in when I was doing the Wife and Wisdom podcast, right? So there'll be times when sometimes the relationship component of the show will be about, personal relationships, romantic relationships. And then there'll be times when it might be parental tips, right? Because many of you have tuned in. You've seen me have my girls on camera with me. I've raised a lot of kids. But I gave birth to four daughters who are basically now young women, right? And so there are times when I got questions about, hey, can you give me some more tips on the parenting thing? How did you raise all of these different kids? And that type of thing. So there'll be times when I hit that off. And then professional relationships, so like, how do you do the networking thing? Or how do I know which way to go, who I'm supposed to connect with, partner with, cross ventures, or joint venture, cross promotions? How does that work? So all of that will be under that relationship umbrella. And I'm hoping that I am not losing you guys. But for those of you who are tuned in, this isn't all new. Get educated, get empowered with Tennille, right? And so what I have been doing for the first bit of this is just kind of explaining to you guys the new format of this show, where I'm still going to make sure that I'm giving you quality information. The show will typically be 30 to 45 minutes, but there may be sometimes we go a little longer, but we will never go longer than an hour. And that came from, for those of you who have been watching me, that originated from the show. I don't know if you all remember when I had done my homework and found out about the whole concept of overstimulation, right? So around that time, that was when I kind of vowed to be more mindful of not just the frequency with which I go live, but how long those lives were going, right? So whereas no, I cannot control how long people are tuned in, whether visually or audibly, to the internet, I can at least I can have a say so over how much my contribution is responsible for that, right? So what I have been doing since then, I've kind of been behind the scenes, revamping some things, figuring some things out, and so I will be making more of an effort to do some reels on a more regular basis on both Facebook, TikTok, maybe sometimes X as well. For those of you who don't know the difference in the platforms, it's really about the length of the time you can do those videos, right? So for those of us who are on Facebook, we know that Facebook allows up to 90 seconds or a minute and a half to do your reel. Also, thank you so much, Mama. Mama Joy says that she remembers the show that I'm talking about and that it was very helpful. I really appreciate that. And so, but the thing about it is with when you go to TikTok to do a reel, you can be as long as 10 minutes. But if you go over to X, formerly known as Twitter, your reels can be about 45 seconds, right? And so what I have kind of decided, I've made the executive decision to say, well, you know what? I think I'm going to start releasing some bite-sized pieces of information too in those formats. And so, what I would appreciate, those of you who are on TikTok, if you would go and follow me at my name is Tennille. When I first came on TikTok, I had no clue what the platform was, if I'm being quite honest. I wasn't sure of what the platform was. I wasn't sure of how I wanted to use the platform. And so, really, when I came on TikTok, it was more as a reactive user. So, I would just kind of look at the other content creators, but I wasn't really making a lot of content. I wasn't really posting often. And so, I wasn't promoting the fact that I was on TikTok, but I'm kind of figuring it out a little bit more. And I know that there are a lot of people who are on TikTok, and in order to go live on TikTok, you have to have at least 1,000 followers. So that's something else that I'm working on. But in either case, guys, um, this show again is going to be kind of quick because it's just an intro, it's just an overview for those of you who listen to me from that Noon Vibe podcasting platform, which is Audible only. With you guys, I may do after shows sometimes, so sometimes I may go longer than 30 or 45 minutes, maybe. But even with that platform, I still want to kind of keep to that same time frame, right? So what I have been doing is explaining what the new setup is going to be. So like I say, this is kind of going to be almost similar to the Daily Show, where you're going to get multiple categories within that same show. So like it's not going to, whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, it's the new truth, which is, so there will not be a day that's just for the arts or a day that's just for relationships. But every show, I'm going to give you a piece of each thing. And so my four areas of expertise are the arts. I talked about that already. Books, movies, and music, relationships, whether they be parental, personal, or professional, self-care. And with self-care, that is, I have really kind of become a huge self-care advocate after being a stroke survivor. Many of you, like in May, this May, I missed it, y'all. The time just passed by so fast. But prior to this May, probably for at least 5 to 7 years, every May, as a stroke survivor, I will always kind of come on and talk to you all about, hey, Wanda, talk to you guys about being a stroke survivor, right? Not just my journey, but also informing you all about stroke, the types of strokes there are, how to prevent stroke, the causes, the cures, the symptoms, the signs. Like I would do that every week. There would be a day of the week, and I would do that for the entire month. So, say if it was Friday, every Friday for the month of May, I would go live and give you all information about stroke. Well, it's not just stroke. There are various things that I have been able to endure. And so I typically come live with that type of stuff. But the point is, being a stroke survivor, that was one of the things that really kind of got me on this whole self-care kick, because whereas I'm not old, but not nobody ever, I'm not old. Again, remember, I got crispy hair, so I can't be old, right? That's another reel. Y'all got to watch that reel to know what I'm talking about. But whereas I'm not old, I'm old enough to have grown up in a time where when I came up, we were always taught that taking care, especially as being a woman, that was really selfish, right? So whether you're talking about from the household perspective, coming up under a mother and a grandmother who, I would not say they were the head of their households because they had husbands, but they ran the house, right? Like I came up in a traditional family where the women stayed home, and they took care of the household, and so like their responsibility was maintaining everything for their husbands, their children, and all of that. And so I didn't grow up seeing my mother or my grandmother going to the beauty shop or the nail salon or a spa day. I just saw them working all the time and doing all the time. And so, and then you couple that with growing up in the church, right? We kind of sometimes misuse that scripture where it talks about being humble, and there's so many people that erroneously believe that because you're taking care of yourself, and when I say that, I mean you're actually spending time on making sure you're okay, that either you lack humility, or you don't have certain traits that you should have, right? So I grew up in that time, and I think that that erroneous thinking actually contributed to some of the mistakes that I made, the flaws in my thinking in terms of wanting or needing to do things for myself. I was later diagnosed with a severe stress disorder. And again, a lot of that came from just not taking care of myself. And not taking care of myself came from the thought process that, oh, it's wrong. I'm a woman. I'm married. I got all of these kids. So everybody is who is my responsibility to take care of. And very, very rarely I ever one of the bodies that I was allowing myself to be responsible for. And so again, unfortunately, it took a situation where it almost cost me my life to really wake me up to understand that taking care of myself is not selfish, right? And so, but that's what self-care, when I'm using those self-care segments, we'll either be talking about actual self-care, like, mental health awareness, self-awareness, self-love, self-esteem, that really will fall under self-care. And then we have entrepreneurship. And so many of you on the fourth Fridays, you guys have tuned in, you seen that I've had a co-host, Miss Deanne D Matthews, who refers to herself as the your friendly self-care. Now I got self-care on the brain, but your friendly crypto educator, right? So when we're talking about entrepreneurship, hey, Eric. So when we're talking about entrepreneurship, we are talking about like business structure. So for all of those people who are trying to start their own business, or maybe you're not sure if you should, you're looking, for the signs of that. If you are a DBA doing business as so a sole proprietor, but maybe you're wondering if you should become a LLC, or if you should incorporate, because I remember there was a season on Facebook where that's all everybody was saying, like it's only 250 to get an LLC, so do that. But is that the right move for you? So like business structures, knowing about budgeting, because I don't care what industry you're in, you need to know how to have a budget for your respective industry. So talking about budgeting, talking about insurance, talking about investing, understanding your money, those will be the topics that kind of fall under that entrepreneurship category. And so that's really what this new umbrella is, right? So you guys won't be seeing 4 or 5 different podcast umbrellas anymore. Like it all will come under this. However, watch this, because I love y'all. So with this new website that I was telling you guys about, it's still not ready to officially launch yet. However, on my website, on this new, and I would say improved website, there is going to be a subscription page. So you will be able to subscribe to everything that I've ever done. So remember how I came on, I was talking about an author, right? So you'll be able to go to this site, all of the books in ebook form, you'll be able to subscribe. So like every month you can get a new ebook if that's what you so desire. If you want to, purchase the music, the remembering or the I survived it all, you'll be able to do that. If you want to be able to connect to the films that I've done, the Black Man movie as well as the I survived it all, you'll be able to subscribe to that. There will be courses that I have that you'll be able to subscribe to, the courses, the webinars. So all of the different content that I've done, even the podcast, right? So remember how I told you guys I had aspects of entrepreneurship, and it's not politics, it's principles and getting alignment with your assignment, and the self-care act, and all of these different podcasts that I've done over the years. You'll be able to subscribe to all of that. So it's not gone away holistically, but when I come on here, there will be one show that will encompass all of these different topics, right? And so, and like I say, the goal is to be 30 to 45 minutes. It will never go longer than an hour, never go longer than an hour. And so if there is any of you who are either watching or listening, and if you would like to be a sponsor of the show, sponsorships will still be available, right? And so, like, there were some of you who sponsored my individual shows, but you still will benefit, and I would say even more so, being a sponsor of this show, because it encompasses everything, right? So whereas, say, if you had a particular product, or for those of you who, there were a couple people who had me play commercials, some people had me create commercials to play for the show. Some people just want to be the sponsor, they had their own commercials. So like, if you all want to be a sponsor of the show, now it's not just one particular audience that your product or your message is getting in front of. As a sponsor, all of the people that's tuning in to watch all of this content, they'll be seeing that commercial. So it won't just be people who love the arts that will see your stuff. People who are into relationships and self-care and entrepreneurship will also see your stuff, right? So I want you guys to keep that in mind, that the sponsorship opportunities will still be available. There will be times where I will be on the fourth week of the month. I will have guests, right? So I will still be doing the guest component. If we have a fifth week, that will be an FAQ show where it will be more interactive. So whether it's bringing somebody on camera or whether it is like hosting a platform so you guys can ask the questions like online and then I answer them live. But the fifth weeks of the month, that's what we will do. Okay. So I'm already got that format launched and ready to go. So I am so totally excited, guys, about this new platform. It may take me a little minute to still work out some of the kinks because just, in terms of being totally transparent with anybody that knows Tennille knows that that's kind of who and what I am. And being transparent, it takes a minute sometimes, especially with Facebook, because for whatever reason, I don't care what outside platform I've used, and I've used a lot of different ones. Whenever you hit live to Facebook, by default it is never on public, right? So by default it's either on just me or only me, is on friends, and so you always have to take those couple of seconds to then go back and change the default setting to public. And I'm still working that out. Like I said, I've been going live for years, and it's always been the same no matter what the platform. So I don't know if that's something that can be changed, but just know that I'm working on it. I'm excited. The theme that came on, the introduction that came on, that background music that you heard, that was given to me by Matthew Long Jr. again. So I'm trying to incorporate a lot of independence in what I do. I've always done that, but I just want to make sure that you guys are staying tuned, staying connected to me, knowing that I am officially back. So Tuesdays through Fridays, you guys will be seeing me consistently 6 p.m. Today I was a little late, but 6 p.m. Central Standard Time will normally be my live time. So you'll be hearing me say, get in the mix at 6, right? Also, and this will probably be like the final things I'm winding down, is just to let you guys know that again, my goal is to release at least one reel throughout the day, just little bite-sized pieces of information. So it's not to overstimulate you. Sometimes it might be like a did you know type thing. It might be a comment on a current events type of situation. It may just kind of be like a preview to what you're going to get for the show later on that day, right? But I do want to kind of get in the habit of doing that. And so I just want to thank you guys so much. Thank you for your patience, because it's been a journey and I'm not done. I'm still traveling, right? Like I wear a lot of hats. I always have, probably always will. So it's unapologetically so. However, there are times where you have to revamp, you have to regroup, and I'm no different than anybody else. And so right now I am in a different phase of my life. My babies are getting older on me, y'all. I can't even, they'll always be my babies, but these are grown women. Two of my daughters are preparing to kind of live the dorm life. And so that has been a lot for me, not just in terms of emotionally coming to terms with that, but also just the work that is involved. One of them is staying in state, one is going out of state. And so that has just been a lot. So other parts of my life have had to kind of be on pause so I can, make sure that I'm doing well in that part. Because that's the other thing. There are times where you're not going to be able to be at 100% in everything. So there's sometimes where you have to, things are cyclical or seasonal, and I've just been embracing that as well. But the whole goal is when I come back to come back better than ever. And that's what I'm looking to do, right? Like when you guys this is it's just who I am. So I'm gonna be podcasting. I'm gonna be coaching. I'm gonna be speaking. Those are gonna be my top priorities. And like I say, so if ever, hey, Miss Abronia, so if ever you all tune in and you're like, man, I wanted more of that, right? So whatever information I have, you'll be able to get more either through getting a book, getting a, the webinar, purchasing a webinar, getting a course, getting a coaching program. Like, so there'll always be a way that you can get more of whatever it is that you're looking for through what I offer with my content. And so I just want to thank you guys so much. Again, regardless of whatever platform, I need you all to please stay connected with me on all of the platforms that I'm on. So, again, whether it is Facebook, LinkedIn, X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you can find and follow me at my name is Tennille. And so I really need you guys to do that, especially on TikTok. I'm going to see about getting more connected on X because in closing, many of you know that I am on the ballot for this general election for MWRD, or Metropolitan Water Reclamation District Commissioner. So for those of you who are not just living in Chicago, but specifically in the Cook County area, come November 5th, I will need your vote in order to win, right? And so what I do know is that X is really the more popular platform for that realm. Y'all pray for you, girl, because I'm still getting there. And so, like, at best, what I'm trying to do is also simulcast 2X because I don't know if I'll ever be proficient on X. Like, I have a couple thousand followers on X, but I really just need to also build up my frequency and consistency in posting on that platform. But I thank you guys so much for all that you've done. Thank you for tuning in, regardless of what platform you tuned in from. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to either send some stars my way if you are on Facebook. You can send what is it, super chats or whatever it is on YouTube. I got to get used to all of this lingo again, y'all. But if nothing else, just continue to send your hearts and your prayers, and that'll suffice for me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share the video, and tag somebody that you believe will benefit from having watched this broadcast. Thank you all so much. And until next time, you all stay inspired.